Salvete omnes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our coverage of Caesar's Gallic Wars. We were just starting book 5 last time. The legions have been spread out throughout Gaul for the winter due to drought, and one of those camps, perhaps unsurprisingly, has been attacked. But the Romans quickly repelled the enemy, and the enemy at that point then quickly asked to chat about how they can have some sort of alliance or whatever you might call it. So we're going to pick up in section 27, and at this point, the Gauls have just shouted out that somebody from the Romans should come out to speak with them. They had something that they wanted to say concerning kind of like their common situation, and they hoped that these controversies, disputes would be able to be lessened by these conversations. So let's chat. Mititur ad eos colloquendi causa, Gaius Arpineus, equus Romanus, familiaris quinti tituri, et quintus Junius ex Hispania quidam, qui amante misu Caesaris ad ambiorigem ventitare consuerat, apud quos ambiorix ad hunc modum locutus est. And I'll actually stop at that colon, considering basically everything else is the rest of the sentence. So, sent to them, colloquendi causa, for the sake of discussion, for the sake of chatting. Gerund here, the genitive going with causa, for the sake of speaking. Sent to them is Gaius Arpineus. So Gaius Arpineus is sent to them. He is a Roman eques, a Roman knight. This is the highest kind of, not political rank, kind of social rank. A relative of Quintus Titurius. So that's one person, right? Gaius Arpineus, a Roman knight and relative of Quintus Titurius, who is in charge of this camp. And Quintus Junius, a certain person, a particular person from Spain, who previously, before now, right, by the sending of Caesar, literally, ablative of I guess means or something, by the sending of Caesar, was accustomed to travel to meet with, to travel to Ambiorix. Among whom, or in the presence of whom, so in the presence of Arpineus and Junius, Ambiorix spoke, deponent verb, he spoke ad hunc modum, to this effect, you might say. And most of the rest of this, I think everything but the very last short sentence, is basically going to be an indirect statement. So all of this is a report of what Ambiorix said to Arpineus and Junius. So it's all indirect statement. Caesar wasn't there, so he can't quote. So we're going to get a lot of accusatives, a lot of infinitives. Basically, remember that all of this is based off of locutus est. So he said that he, that is Ambiorix, ought to confess. He ought to confess that on account of Caesar's kindnesses or on account of Caesar's favors towards him, that is basically in exchange for all of the good things that Caesar had done for Ambiorix, he ought to confess a lot of things to him. So he's got to basically going to put forth that he owes Caesar quite a debt, and so he's going to start by saying that he means no ill will towards Caesar, because he was freed, liberatus esset, passive. He was freed from a tribute, from a tax, by his work, eius opera. Eius referring to Caesar. So, oh, actually, I think I should do that the other way around. I think I always, yeah. So Confiteria actually probably is what is governing Debeira as opposed to Debeira covering Confiteri. Ambiorix says that he confesses. He says that he confesses to owe a lot to him, that is, a lot to Caesar, on account of Caesar's kindness towards him. Because by Caesar's work, by Caesar's effort, he was freed from this tax, freed from this tribute. I believe a stipendium, I would go with quod, meaning which here. Which, probably dative to the Aduatuci, his neighbors, he was accustomed to paying out. So, before Caesar came along, Ambiorix owed a debt to the Aduatuci, a neighboring tribe. And I think this is because, this quote I think is because. So you get quod here, because, then you get quod here, which is a relative pronoun going with stipendium, neuter, and then you get another quod meaning because. So 3 quods, but 2 different meanings among them. So he owes a lot to Caesar because of the freeing of the debt, and because et filius et fratris filius. So this is a both and an et. Both his son and his brother's son had been sent back to him by Caesar. So, yeah, well, this gets explained here. His son and his nephew, which the Aduatuci had held in slavery and in chains. This is, again, Caesar using 2 closely related things. One more abstract, one more concrete. So the general abstract idea of slavery, and then like literally physically in chains. The Aduatuci held them. The Aduatuci held them kind of among themselves, held them in their area. Them having been sent in the number of hostages. So, at some point, Ambiorix had fought with the Aduatuci had won, and as kind of a condition to this victory, not only did Ambiorix, and Ambiorix's kind of people, presumably, have to pay this tribute to the Aduatuci to keep from them attacking them again, but also in this number of hostages, he had to send over his son and his nephew. So, which is relatively common. Caesar does that to the Britons back in Book 4, right? He demands hostages from them. So let me make sure. So you get a quote here, you get a because clause, you get a relative clause explaining the stipendium, and then you get another because clause, and then you get another relative clause. So you actually get this nice kind of pattern because of this thing which, and because of this thing which. So that's the first thing he does, right? He says, he confesses that he owes a lot to Caesar because of his generosity towards him. Neque id quod, I think I did the Latin for that, but I'll pick up the Latin here. Neque id quod fecerit de appugnatione castrorum aut judicio aut voluntate sua fecisse, sed quactu civitate suaque esse eius modi imperia, ut non minus aberet iuris in se multitudo, quam ipse in multitudinem. So, first of all, he owes a lot to Caesar. He also says, locutus, that he says that thing which he had done concerning the attack of the camp. Castrorum here, this would be called an objective genitive. It is the object of the attack. So You can say it with the genitive translation, right? Concerning the attack of the camp, but more kind of the attack. I guess you say the attack of the camp. The attack against the camp, you could say, if you wanted to change that a little bit. So, he did it. So the thing which he did, he had done, or rather not done. So he had not done the thing which he did, considering the attack of the camp, either by his judgment or by his willingness, by his want, by his voluntarity. Yeah. Volition. Thank you. That's the word. Volition. So he doesn't, his judgment and his desire, neither one of those were the cause for him to do that. But he did it by the compulsion of the state. And he says that his power, his control was of this sort, that he had kind of nothing less of jurisdiction, I might say, for Eurus here. He kind of has no less power, or rather, the multitude has no less power against him than he has against the multitude. So that is to say, they have to be in agreement about what they do. Honestly, I think this is kind of a weak argument. He can't make them do anything. They can't make him do anything. Yet they are the ones that made him do this. Ambiorix is not to be trusted, as we will see. My guess is it's kind of like, all right, fine, we'll do things your way first, and if that fails, then we're going to do things my way. And so that's kind of what goes on here. Breaking apart the grammar, id, quote, you get the relative clause going with id. Id is the object of fecisse. He had done these things, or not done these things. Ablatives of manner, I guess. Ablative of accompaniment or cause or something. He had not done these things by cause of his judgment or his volition, but he had done them by the compulsion of the state. So that's the first kind of indirect statement. You get this kind of, like, this looks like the completion of the indirect statement when you get to this, the infinitive, but you get this little bonus ablative thrown on at the end for kind of emphasis. He didn't do any of these things because he wanted to, but by the compulsion of the state. He also said that his control, his power, was of this sort that. And it here, plus the subjunctive, this would be a result clause. Going off of eius modi, I would say it was of such a kind that the result is. The multitude has no more control over him than he does over them. Minus plus Eurus, genitive here, nothing less of law, of jurisdiction, I would say. In plus an accusative here, against or towards, maybe even upon, you have power kind of almost over someone, so maybe you translate and say as over. The crowd has no more power over him than he does over them. Quam going with minus, less than. Minus, technically a comparative, an irregular comparative. So that's why we've got the quam here. They do not have less of power over him than he has over them. So it's a system of checks and balances. Great. All right, let's continue with this very long indirect statement, but a nice shorter sentence. Civitate poro hanc fuisse belli calsam, quod repetina gallorum coniuratione resistra non potuerit. And moreover, this thing had been the cause of war for the state, right? For the Civitas, for this nation, however you want to translate Civitas. This had been the cause of war because he was not able, non potuerit, he was not able to resist a kind of sudden decision, I guess? Sudden decision of the Gauls. Plot. Conjuration, right? Not really. I don't know that plot is the best word here. So I'd go with something like decision. And so what this is saying, so I translate that literally. Let me explain what I've said. He can't just unilaterally make a decision for his city-state, right? For his people. He has to make decisions kind of in conjunction with them. The cause of war for the state, his state, as it were, can't really resist. They're not able to resist a plot of the Gauls. And so you have this kind of hierarchy, right? He kind of has to listen to his state. His state kind of has to listen to the rest of the Gauls. The Gauls have to listen to the Druids, I guess, each other, the council, as it were. And so that's what you get here. It's not even so much that he didn't attack because he wanted to, and to some extent, the state didn't even want to, as much as this kind of whole plotting of the Gauls. So basically, it's kind of this desire of all of Gaul to get rid of the Romans. So, let's continue. Id se facle ex humilitate sua probare posse, quod non adeo sit imperatus rerum, ut suis copiis populum Romanum superare posse confidat. And he continues, right? He says that he was able to prove this statement by his humility. Ex humilitate sua. By his humility, I'll just go with humility here. Because, so what does he mean by humility? Because, non adeo sit imperatus rerum. Because he was not so inexperienced of things that, so result clause here going off of adeo. He was not so inexperienced of things that he trusted that I should make this passive, trust that the Roman people was able to be overcome by his forces. He's not an idiot. He knows, Ambiorix knows, that his tribe is very small. They're definitely not going to overtake or overpower the Roman people, right? But he had to attack anyway, because that's what they decided to do. It's like a kitten attacking a Doberman. The kitten knows it can't win, but it's going to hiss and swipe, and the dog will just continue to stare at it like it's the cutest little thing ever. That's kind of how Ambiorix sees his forces against the Roman people. It's like, look, I know we couldn't win. I had to attack. That's what I was told to do. This also, to some extent, explains why they gave up so quickly, right? Supposedly up here, right, since our men seized arms quickly and ascended the walls and, kind of drove everybody back, they quickly, you get the clarity up here, right? Since they quickly did all these things, the enemy retreated. Because again, the forces of Ambiorix are quite outmatched. So, I mean, I guess if you are successful, then hooray, we won, but it's kind of a no-win situation there. Or you expect no victory. Sed esse Gallia commune concilium, omnibus Hibernis Caesaris appugnandis, hunc esse dictum diem, ne qua legio altera legione subsidio venire posset. He continues again, all indirect statements. So he says that he was able to prove this. He also said, he doesn't, he was not so inexperienced of things that he trusted they could attack or overcome the Roman people. But he says that this was the common plan, the communal council, right? The common plan of the Gauls. And you get this punctuation gives us a colon. So what was the plan of the Gauls? Omnibus Hibernis Caesaris appugnandis, ablative absolute with a gerundive. Hunc esse dictum diem. So he said that, or this was the plan, that with all of the winter camps of Caesar being attacked, or by attacking all of the winter camps of Caesar, we don't see this much when we're covering it in our textbook, but ablative, basically ablative absolute with the gerundive. By doing this, the rest of the sentence happens. Actually, do I want to change that a little bit differently? Hunc esse dictum diem. See, I want to make that ablative absolute, but now I want to make that a dative of purpose. Same basic translation, but technically different case. This was the plan. This was the established day for attacking all of the winter camps of Caesar. So I'm going to change those to datives. Sorry, my bad. Should have read the whole sentence. This was the day for attacking all of the camps of Caesar, so that not... I'll say a purpose clause. Yeah, we'll go with the purpose clause here for ne plus a subjunctive. So that not any legion was able to come to the aid for another legion. So, lots of grammar that I like to break apart here. Ne plus a subjunctive. Purpose clause, again, negative purpose, so that not. Qua is translated as any here. There's a phrase among Latin teachers. After si, nisi, num, and ne, all the alleys go away. That means when you have a QU word after num, si, nisi, or ne, put an alley in front of the qua, so it becomes aliqua. So translate it as if it were aliqua, so that not any legion would be able to come to the aid for another legion. Alterae legioni subsidio, double dative construction, among my favorite constructions because it's just kind of weird. So this is a dative of purpose. They would come for the purpose of aid. Alterae legioni, dative of respect, aid with respect to another legion. You could translate as a genitive if you want. No other legion could come to the aid of another legion. But just know that it's dative and not genitive. All right. So this was the common plan of the Gauls, right? That on this day, this was the established day for attacking all of the winter camps of Caesar so that no legion could help another, right? If you just attack one camp, you get a messenger out there to escape through the lines, and he goes to another legion, and suddenly, this little army that's attacking the Roman camps suddenly is being attacked by like 4 legions. You're not going to win, right? But if you attack them all at once, nobody can help anybody else because they're all occupied, and yeah, that's your best shot. Also, you know that they are kind of spread out because of the drought. All right. A more indirect statement. Non facile Gallus Gallis negare patuisse, praesertim cum de recuperanda communi libertate concilium initum videretur. He also said that it is not easy, or I guess rather not easily, are Gauls able to refuse Gauls or to say no to Gauls. So he says that Gauls are not easily able to refuse other Gauls. So if a whole bunch of Gauls say like, hey, we all need to attack the winter camps, you can't be like, nah, I don't feel like it. It's like you must be united. So we all act as one, or we shall all hang together, we shall all hang separately. Kind of the view of the Gauls. Praesertim, especially when, or perhaps since, this begun plan, this concilium initum, this initiated plan, seemed best, seemed to be the best concerning the recuperation, right? The recovery of the communal liberty, of the recovery of common liberty. De here going with libertate. It concerned the freedom, the common freedom, and particularly the common freedom worthy of being recuperated. A gerundive in this case, but you can just say about the recovery of kind of their common liberty or kind of universal liberty. So Gauls can't usually say no to Gauls, especially when it concerns like freedom. Maybe a Gaul could say no to a Gaul when it comes to what toppings you want on your hamburger, but probably not when it's like, hey, do you want to be free from Roman tyranny? Nah, I think I'm good. Yeah, not easy for a Gaul to say no to that, at least to another Gaul. All right. Quibus quoniam propietate satisfecerit, habera nunc se rationem offici pro beneficis Caesaris. Monera, orare titurium pro hospitio, ut sue ac militum saluti consulat. All right. By these things, that is kind of all of the attacking that had happened above. All right. So, quoniam, since he had done enough, literally done enough, right? Satis facerit, to do satis, to do enough. Since he had kind of satisfied the conditions by these things, on account of his duty, pietas, duty to the people that are above you, duty to your gods, duty to the state, duty to your family. At least for Rome. I don't know what the Gauls' piety tier list is, but since he had done enough in exchange, like kind of on account of his duty, he said that, indirect statement, that now he had the rationem officii. He had kind of almost like an obligation of duty. He had the reason of duty, the reason of kind of obligation on account of Caesar's kindnesses. So, all right, I've done what I needed to do on account of my obligations to the state. Now I have the reason of obligation to Caesar. He said that he was advising, begging Titurius, kind of on account of his hospitality, on account of the hospitality, he was begging him to kind of meet with him to consult concerning, to discuss his and the soldiers' safety. So, I've done what I needed to do, but now I'd really like to do you a solid, Rome. So I'd really like to meet with Titurius concerning the situation and how we can solve this problem without any sort of any more bloodshed. All right, it's all about salus, all about safety. Magnam manum Germanorum conductum renum transis, Hunc ad fore biduo. Nice sentence, short, indirect statement. He said that a large band of Germans, having been hired by the Gauls, presumably, had crossed the Rhine. And this band of people, he said that this band would be present ad plus fore, for again futurum esse, so ad sum in a future infinitive, that this band would be present, it would be here in a 2-day period. Biduo. B2, right? Like a bicycle. And then duo actually for like die, day. All right, so it'd be here in a 2-day period. Ipsorum esse concilium. Velint ne prius quam finitimi sentiant adductos ex hibernis milites alt aud ciceronem alt ad labienum deducere quorum alter milia passum ciciter quinquaginta alter palo amplius ab eis absit. All right. He also said that theirs was the decision, the plan, the council. So I would translate this almost as like the decision was theirs. So I'm going to propose some plans to you. You can decide what you think is best. So what could they possibly do? If they want, or should they want, before the kind of neighbors sensed it, did they want to be led from the camps, or how do I want to gather all of this? So, the decision was theirs. Would they like, before the bordering people figured it out, prius quam finitimi sentiant, would they like the soldiers, having been led from the camps, to be guided either to Cicero or to Labienus, the one of which was around 50 miles away, the one of which, so I think Cicero, milia possum ciciter quanquigenta, so the one of which was around 50 miles away, the other was a little farther away from them. So, this is their decision, right? Would you like, and Ambiorix here, I don't know if he says it now or we'll say it later, it will offer to kind of escort them to one of the other nearby camps, right? Either to Cicero or Labienus' camp. So, an indirect question. So you get the subjunctive here, and you get ne attached at the end, which makes it a question word. I don't know if that's the way I would have standardly done that. I may have done noom plus the subjunctive for an indirect question here. Do you want? But, yeah. He asked them, do you want to lead the soldiers out of the camps to either Cicero or Labienus? Illud se policeri ed iure orando confirmare tutum iter per finis daturum. And he said that he promised this, and he swore it with an oath. He kind of affirmed it by swearing an oath, that he would give, that is, that Ambiorix would give a safe journey through the borders. So, I promise this to you, and I swear it with an oath, I will give you safe journey, either to Cicero or Labienus, should you choose. Quod cum faciat, et civitate sese consulara, quod hibernis levetur, et Caesari pro eus meritis gratiam referre. Cum faciat quod, so both a cum clause and a relative clause, kind of, I guess, since he was doing this thing, or like when he does this thing, he both, we're going to get this answered here, he both he says that he is kind of consulting with, he's kind of working with his state, with his tribe, because it was being lightened, it was being relieved of the winter camps, ablative of separation, I guess, being lightened from the camps. And he said that he was kind of returning grace, returning gratiam, right? Grace. Yeah, I'll say grace. He was returning grace to Caesar on account of what he had earned, what he had deserved. So, by safely escorting you to a nearby camp, I'm helping out Caesar, I'm repaying a debt to Caesar, but I'm also kind of repaying a debt or doing what my tribe wants, that is, getting rid of the winter camps. That's the end of the indirect statement. Hac oratione habita. With this oration given, literally held, right? But with this oration given, with this speech presented, Ambiorix left. Okay. So, lot of stuff that he's saying here, right? Basically, the recap. He owes a lot to Caesar, so he doesn't really want to attack Caesar, because there's a soft spot in his heart for Caesar. But he's compelled to by his tribe, because his tribe is being compelled by the Gauls, right? Ultimately, we don't want Romans telling us what to do. So this is what I had to do as kind of like the leader of my people. They all wanted me to do this, and so I have to kind of do my best to support them. Now that I've done that, let me do a favor for Caesar. I'll escort you somewhere safe. Pick where you want to go. Cicero, Labienus, theoretically they could stay. He doesn't present that option, but the idea is either stay and face this huge band of Germans that has been hired and has just crossed the Rhine and will be here in 2 days and try to hold out against them, unlikely, or before it's too late, go to Caesar Labienus. So this is the two choices that Titurius and Sabinus have. Do we stay or do we go? But we will find out next time. So we'll stop there for today. Next time we'll take a look at 28 and I think 29. Maybe squeeze a 30 into there. Basically, it's this debate between Sabinus and Cotta about what should they do. So thank you very much for joining me today. As always, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, email me, or ask me in class. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you all in the next video. Later.